Massive stones across the globe point directly at the sun and stars with impossible precision. This is the world of megalithic sites, and their hidden construction logic is one of history's greatest puzzles. By the end of this video, you will understand the sophisticated engineering and cosmic knowledge that allowed ancient cultures to build these marvels. How did people without modern tools achieve such accuracy across continents? And what profound truths about their world did they encode in stone? What does our own drive to build lasting monuments say about us today? Walking among the thousands of standing stones at Carnac in France feels like navigating a petrified forest. These immense structures, built from colossal stones often fitted together without any mortar, are among humanity's earliest and most enduring architectural triumphs. The very word megalithic comes from ancient Greek words meaning large stone, a fitting name for creations that dwarf individual human effort. As archaeologist Colin Renfrew observed, these are not random piles of rock. They are deliberate, painstaking projects that demanded the coordinated labor of entire communities over generations. Built primarily during the Neolithic and Bronze Ages, these sites share a family resemblance across the globe. They are defined by their use of massive stone blocks, some weighing many tons, and by their frequent, precise orientation to celestial events. From the great stone circles of Britain to the towering dolmens of Korea, these monuments are a universal language written in granite and limestone. Why would cultures separated by oceans and continents, with no possible contact, each decide to erect such similar and back-breaking structures? The answer may lie not in shared blueprints, but in a shared human drive to reach for the heavens and leave a mark on the earth that would truly last. At the Callanish stones in Scotland, the granite pillars rise like jagged teeth against the sky. On a clear night, you can watch the moon skim their tips, its path perfectly framed by the ancient stonework. This is no accident. Across the world, from the solstice-aligned passage of Newgrange in Ireland to the starlit rings of Egypt's Nabta Playa, megalithic builders were master astronomers. They encoded a deep understanding of the heavens into the very bones of the earth. When the winter solstice sun rises at Newgrange, a narrow beam of light travels down a long passage to illuminate the inner chamber, a feat of engineering that marks the year's rebirth. This connection to the sky was vital for agricultural societies. Knowing precisely when seasons would turn meant the difference between plenty and hardship. These stones were their calendars, their ritual centers, and a physical expression of cosmic order. Researcher Alexander Toms studied hundreds of these sites across Britain and France, proposing that their builders used a standard unit of measurement and a grasp of complex geometry to achieve near-perfect alignments over vast distances. How could they possibly set these sightlines with such accuracy, using only stone and bone and wood? The answer lies not in lost technology, but in the ingenious application of simple tools and patient observation. The stone itself held a voice. At Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest known temple, the builders did not just use any rock they found. They journeyed to specific quarries, selecting towering limestone pillars that were not only structurally sound but also rich with symbolic meaning. This was a conscious choice, a dialogue between human ambition and the enduring character of the earth. The very ground they built upon was part of the design, with the site's prominent hilltop location offering a panoramic view of the horizon, a perfect stage for watching the celestial dance. This pattern repeats across the globe. The location and the type of stone were never arbitrary. They were decisions deeply rooted in local geology, the shape of the land, and a cultural worldview that saw the landscape as alive and interconnected. Researchers have identified what are sometimes called ley lines, hypothetical alignments connecting ancient sites across great distances. While the scientific debate on their intentionality continues, it highlights a compelling truth. These monuments were often placed on prominent natural features, ridges, and river valleys that may have been seen as spiritually charged or strategically vital for communication and trade. The most famous example of this deliberate sourcing comes from Stonehenge. Its smaller blue stones were transported an incredible 140 miles from the Preseli Hills in Wales. This was not a simple haul. It was a monumental logistical endeavor that required a sophisticated understanding of the landscape, from navigating river systems to moving tons of stone across varied terrain. Such a feat speaks volumes about social organization and a shared purpose that could coordinate labor and resources for generations. The environment was not an obstacle to be conquered, but a partner in the design. Natural formations guided human intention, suggesting that the sacredness of a place was inherent, waiting to be acknowledged with stone. So how did they do it? Without wheels or metal tools, what ingenious methods allowed them to move mountains and shape the very bones of the earth? At Malta's Haga Kim, the stones themselves seemed to hold the memory of the people who gathered there. This was far more than a calendar, it was a stage for community. Imagine generations returning to the same temple, under the same stars, to reaffirm their bonds to each other and to the cosmos. These structures were the heart of communal identity, places where ceremonies for the changing seasons, rites of passage, and the honoring of ancestors wove a shared cultural fabric. The stones were not just arranged for observation, they were embedded with meaning. Anthropologists propose that the very layout of these sites often mirrored the heavens, a symbolic representation of the cosmos here on Earth. Individual stones might have been seen as embodiments of ancestral spirits or divine forces, making the entire complex a sacred map connecting the community to both their past and the universe. This drive to harmonize human life with natural cycles was profound. By aligning a temple doorway to the solstice sunrise, the builders created a moment of cosmic unity. It was a way to ensure order and prosperity, a physical prayer for the continuation of life itself. We see this same principle across the world, from the Maya whose pyramids precisely tracked the movement of Venus, to cultures who saw the earth and sky as inseparable realms. The specific orientations and layouts were not random engineering choices. They were deliberate decisions shaped by a rich symbolic worldview. The placement of a burial chamber might mirror the path of the setting sun, symbolizing a journey to the afterlife. The circular form of a henge could represent the cyclical nature of time and the seasons. This exploration reveals that the true genius of these sites lies in their fusion of the practical and the profound. The mechanics of moving stone were in service of a greater purpose, to build a lasting, tangible expression of what a community believed. How did this shared vision actually enable the construction of such impossible monuments? The geometric precision of Avebury's sprawling stone circles begins with a simple rope and a stake in the ground. With these basic tools, ancient surveyors could lay out vast, perfect patterns across the landscape. They employed fundamental geometric principles, creating circles, ellipses, and even Pythagorean triangles to ensure their alignments remained true over immense distances. The recurring mathematical ratios found in these site layouts are uncanny. It suggests the builders were using a standardized unit of measurement, a shared architectural canon that spanned generations. One particularly elegant method was the use of the 3-4-5 triangle. By knotting a rope in these specific proportions, they could effortlessly create a perfect right angle, a cornerstone for aligning stones to a solstice sunrise or a significant star. This was not guesswork. It was applied mathematics, a way to encode complex celestial information directly into the durable bones of the Earth. The integration of these principles reveals a staggering level of planning and technical skill, fundamentally challenging any outdated notion of prehistoric peoples as primitive. Their monuments were textbooks in stone, written in a language of geometry. What other mathematical concepts were they fluent in? The clues point us toward a deeper layer of design, where numbers themselves held power and meaning, recurring in mysterious patterns across continents. Around a crackling fire, the secrets of the stars were passed from one generation to the next. In a world without written blueprints, the precise knowledge of how to align massive stones with celestial bodies lived in memory, spoken in stories, and demonstrated in practice. Elders would instruct their apprentices, not with dry lectures, but with vivid tales where heroes and gods moved mountains, narratives that cleverly encoded the real-world logistics of communal labor and engineering. The rhythm of a song might hold the key to a solstice alignment, and a practiced hand gesture could demonstrate the exact angle for setting a lintel stone. This was a living library of knowledge, refined and adapted with each telling to suit new landscapes and challenges. A myth about a sky deity might actually be a mnemonic for tracking the path of Venus, ensuring that even as societies migrated or faced hardship, the core understanding of the cosmos remained intact, carried in the voices of the people. The continuity we see at sites that were used for centuries points to a powerful system of apprenticeship where collective memory was a sacred trust. How could such intricate knowledge survive the rise and fall of cultures, or the slow erosion of time itself? It speaks to the profound resilience of oral tradition, a framework flexible enough to incorporate new discoveries yet robust enough to protect the foundational principles that connected a community to the heavens. This enduring cultural memory was the invisible scaffolding upon which the stones were raised. It guided the hands that shaped the landscape, transforming a grand vision into a permanent, physical reality. A map of the ancient world reveals a stunning phenomenon. From the long rows of stones at Carnac in France to the silent, towering moai gazing inland on Easter Island, these structures speak a common language of alignment. Separated by thousands of miles of ocean, cultures that could never have met each other were nonetheless looking at the same sky and marking the same celestial moments. The recurring solstitial alignment, where stones frame the sunrise on the longest and shortest days of the year, is a powerful example. It points to a universal human recognition of the sun's power over the cycles of life, from the growth of crops to the very turning of the seasons. This shared focus suggests that the impulse to build in harmony with the cosmos was not a single invention but a fundamental part of the human story, emerging independently across the globe. Yet the execution was always local. The Maltese temples, built from the soft Globigerina limestone of the islands, have a rounded, organic form quite distinct from the sharp, imposing granite of a Scottish stone circle. The materials and styles were brilliantly adapted to the environment, proving that these were not copies of a single blueprint but unique interpretations of a shared cosmic principle. This comparative view helps us separate mere coincidence from something far more profound. When we see the same complex astronomical knowledge encoded in stone on different continents, it forces us to ask whether this was purely independent genius, or if there were faint, ancient threads of connection, networks of exchange where ideas traveled slowly across generations and vast distances. The patterns etched into the Earth itself become clues to the very first global conversations, a silent trade in knowledge that may have shaped the prehistoric world. The cold precision of a modern theodolite confirms what the naked eye can only wonder at, locking a distant stone rowed directly onto the point where the star Sirius first broke the horizon thousands of years ago. This is the science of archaeoastronomy in action, a field that bridges the gap between ancient intuition and modern verification. It combines the careful excavation of archaeology with the predictive power of astronomy to ask a profound question: how did past cultures truly see their place in the cosmos? Pioneers like Gerald Hawkins took this beyond speculation. By applying statistical analysis to the positions of stones at sites like Stonehenge, he demonstrated that the alignments were not random. The probability of so many stones pointing to key solar and lunar events by pure chance was vanishingly small, providing mathematical proof of intentional design. Today, our tools are even more revealing. Laser scanning can map every contour of a weathered megalith, detecting subtle sightlines that have been obscured by centuries of soil shift and erosion. Satellite imagery allows us to pull back, revealing vast networks where individual sites are not isolated monuments but connected nodes in a grand terrestrial design. Researchers have identified landscapes where multiple stone circles and burial mounds form alignments stretching for miles, all calibrated to track complex celestial cycles. One of the most remarkable is the 18.6-year lunar standstill, the slow, dramatic wobble in the moon's path across the sky. At the Carnac stones, this long cycle culminates in a breathtaking event where the moon seems to skim the horizon, perfectly grazing the stone tips in a display that repeats only once in a generation. To encode such a slow, patient rhythm into stone required not just annual observation, but the meticulous preservation of knowledge across centuries. These discoveries are fundamentally reshaping our understanding. We are moving from seeing these places as simple calendars to recognizing them as integrated observatory networks, where the entire landscape was a participatory instrument for reading the sky. Each new technological leap, from ground-penetrating radar to three-dimensional simulation software, peels back another layer of this ancient genius. They validate the sophistication of prehistoric knowledge not as magic, but as a highly refined science of pattern recognition, applied mathematics, and deep, sustained observation. The stones were their textbooks, and we are only now learning how to read them. How many more alignments, invisible to the eye, are still waiting to be revealed by the next generation of tools? This ongoing conversation between past builders and present technology promises that the greatest chapters of this story may still be unwritten. The sound of hundreds of voices rising in a rhythmic chant would have been the engine that moved mountains. Coordinating the pull on a massive rope, feeling the immense log rollers shift beneath a multi-ton menhir, this was a feat of social harmony as much as physical strength. To build these monuments required a society that could organize itself with incredible precision, a community bound by shared purpose and a clear vision of the future. Anthropological studies point to the presence of charismatic leaders or a knowledgeable priestly class, individuals who could articulate the spiritual and practical benefits of the project and inspire generations of labor. This was not forced toil. It was a collective undertaking that required a society with surplus resources, enough food and stability to free people from constant subsistence work. Specialized roles would have emerged naturally: the skilled rope makers, the experienced quarry workers, the coordinators who understood the physics of leverage, all working in concert. The construction of Silbury Hill in England serves as a staggering example. The estimated 18 million hours of labor required to build that single mound speaks of a population not just organized, but deeply motivated over many human lifetimes. What drove an individual to contribute their back and their time to a project they would never see completed? The answer lies in the profound psychological and social rewards of such an endeavor. Being part of something so vast and enduring, something that connected them to their ancestors and their descendants, would have provided a powerful sense of identity and place in the cosmos. The shared belief that these stones ensured the sun would return, the seasons would turn, and the community would prosper transformed back-breaking labor into a sacred act. This social cohesion, forged in collective effort and reinforced by shared ritual, was the true bedrock upon which the stones were raised. It reveals a fundamental human truth that our greatest architectural achievements are always at their core, monuments to our ability to work together. The sheer scale of material movement at Stonehenge is almost beyond comprehension. Visualize hundreds of people, ropes biting into their shoulders as they haul a sarsen stone weighing more than 20 tons down from the Marlborough Downs. Their journey stretched over 20 miles of forest, marsh, and rolling hills. The builders did not simply use the nearest available rock. They deliberately chose the hard, durable sarsen sandstone for the great outer circle and lintels, a material that could withstand millennia, while sourcing the distinctive bluestones from mountains over 100 miles away in Wales. This was not random selection. It was a deliberate act, likely imbuing these stones with immense symbolic power, making the arduous journey itself a sacred pilgrimage. The logistical mind behind this operation was that of a master engineer. They planned routes with meticulous care, avoiding the steepest inclines and seeking out the paths of least resistance. Where possible, they would have leveraged the landscape itself, using natural slopes and frozen ground in winter to reduce friction. Experimental archaeology gives us a window into their methods. Teams have demonstrated that on a slick track of mud and wooden rollers, a large group of people can indeed move a multi-ton stone. Adding water as a lubricant to the sledges transforms the effort, turning an impossible drag into a coordinated, rhythmic pull. The true challenge was not just raw power, but control. How did they prevent a runaway stone on a downhill slope or navigate a tight turn without the massive weight collapsing the rollers? The solutions were ingeniously simple. Outrigger logs added stability, while teams with lever poles could make minute adjustments to the stone's direction and posture. A lead caller would set the pace with a chant, synchronizing the pull to ensure every ounce of force was applied in unison. This intricate dance of human coordination and environmental mastery reveals a society that understood physics intuitively. They knew how to distribute weight, manage friction, and turn natural forces into allies. The transportation route was not just a path from point A to point B. It was a carefully engineered corridor, a testament to a deep, generational familiarity with the very soul of the land. Each successfully moved stone was a victory of collective will over immense physical obstacle, a triumph that must have bound the community together in a shared story of achievement. What other profound knowledge of the natural world did these ancient engineers possess, and how did it shape the sacred spaces they created? A narrow beam of sunlight pierces the long, dark passage of Misho, striking the rear wall of the chamber for only a few precious minutes. This event, occurring precisely at the winter solstice, was the Neolithic equivalent of a clock striking midnight on a new year. It was a moment of profound reassurance, a celestial signal that the sun's retreat was over and the days would begin to grow long again. This was not an isolated marvel. At Malta's Mnajdra Temple, the very architecture is a solar almanac carved in stone. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, the sun's rays slip perfectly through the main doorway to illuminate the central axis, while at the solstices, the light strikes distinct markers on the opposite wall. This precise calibration provided an unerringly accurate calendar, a necessity for any society dependent on the land. Knowing exactly when to plant, when to harvest, and when the rains might come was a matter of survival. These stone calendars stabilized entire communities, turning the uncertainty of nature into a predictable rhythm of life. But their function extended far beyond the practical scheduling of crops. The solar and lunar alignments also dictated the timing of sacred festivals, communal gatherings, and rites of passage, weaving the cosmic order directly into the fabric of social life. What other cycles of time were they tracking? The evidence points to a deep interest in more complex generational rhythms. The Great Stone Circles, with their alignments to the Moon's long, 18.6-year cycle, suggest these sites were also used to predict eclipses, events that would have held immense power and mystery. By marking these celestial patterns in permanent stone, the builders created a legacy of knowledge, a way to pass critical information down through countless generations without a single written word. The monument itself became the teacher, its silent stones speaking volumes to those who knew how to read them. This integration of timekeeping into architecture reveals a worldview where human existence was inseparable from the grand, turning gears of the cosmos. To build in harmony with these cycles was to ensure order, prosperity, and a meaningful place within the universe itself. A spiral carved into a stone at Newgrange is more than just decoration. It is a story told in stone, a visual representation of the endless cycles of life, death, and rebirth. This was the symbolic language of the megalithic builders, a way to embed their deepest beliefs directly into the architecture of their world. The very shapes they chose were rich with meaning. A perfect circle was not just an easy shape to lay out with a rope. It was a powerful symbol of eternity, of the sun's endless journey, and the cyclical turning of the seasons. A long, straight alignment of stones might represent a pathway, a bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the ancestors or the gods. In this worldview, the landscape itself was alive, and certain stones were seen as vessels for spiritual presence. The careful selection and placement of a specific menhir was not merely an engineering decision. It was an act of communion, an attempt to anchor a divine force or an ancestral spirit within the community's sacred space. This symbolic intent is echoed in mysterious motifs found across different cultures. The cup and ring marks, those small, carved depressions surrounded by concentric circles that appear on megaliths from Scotland to Portugal, are a perfect example. While their exact meaning is lost to time, their widespread occurrence hints at a shared symbolic vocabulary, a way of expressing a concept, perhaps related to water, the underworld, or celestial bodies, that was understood across vast distances. These symbols transformed a functional calendar or meeting place into a multidimensional text. They communicated complex cosmological ideas to everyone in the community, regardless of their role. A person might not understand the precise mathematics behind a solstice alignment, but they could look at a spiral and feel the truth of nature's endless renewal. The symbols provided a common framework, a set of stories and beliefs that gave collective purpose to the immense labor of construction. They answered the fundamental human questions of where we come from and where we are going, using the most permanent medium they could conceive of, stone. This layer of meaning is what elevates these sites from simple monuments to profound philosophical statements. They are a testament to a time when every aspect of life, from farming to building to honoring the departed, was woven into a single, coherent, and sacred understanding of the universe. The silent, sun-bleached stones of Nabta Playa stand in a desert that was once a vibrant grassland. This dramatic transformation reveals a crucial truth. The logic of megalithic construction was deeply entwined with a living, changing earth. The precise alignments these builders etched into the landscape were not created in a vacuum. They were a direct response to the environmental conditions and climatic shifts of their time. During the Neolithic period, as glaciers retreated and weather patterns fluctuated, entire ecosystems were reshaped. Lush valleys could slowly turn arid, and coastlines shifted, forcing communities to adapt or move. In this context, the placement of a stone circle was often a strategic decision. A site positioned on a high ridge not only offered an unobstructed view of the horizon for celestial observation, but also served as a territorial marker in a newly settled landscape, a beacon visible for miles that communicated presence and authority. The choice was both practical and profound. A spring emerging near a group of stones might be seen as a gift from the earth, sanctifying that location and making it the natural heart of the community. The builders were not just reading the stars, they were reading the land itself, interpreting its resources, its dangers, and its hidden pathways. How did a changing world force a change in design? At many sites, we see evidence of modification over centuries. An alignment that once pointed to a water source that later dried up might be physically adjusted, or the focus of the site might shift entirely as the community's relationship with the environment evolved. In some cases, a gradual shift towards a drier climate, bringing with it challenges for farming and settlement, appears linked to a site's eventual abandonment. The stones were left behind not as a failure, but as a testament to a way of life that was no longer sustainable in that place. This perspective connects these monuments to the grand narrative of human resilience. They were not static monuments but dynamic projects, constantly reinterpreted to meet the needs of a community navigating a world in flux. The coastal rings of Portugal, for example, might integrate alignments not just with the sun, but with the moon's pull on the tides, weaving essential maritime knowledge into their sacred geometry. This environmental logic shows us that the ancient builders were master ecologists, their greatest constructions emerging from a sophisticated dialogue with the world around them. A notched stick passed from an elder's hand to an apprentice's held the precise length of a sacred measurement. This simple tally was more than a tool. It was a library, a way to encode the complex geometry of the heavens into a physical object that could outlive its creator. The transmission of this knowledge was a sacred trust, safeguarded by a sophisticated system of memory and mentorship. Beyond written records, which did not exist in these societies, the builders relied on a powerful combination of mnemonic devices, practical training, and ritual repetition. Rhythmic chants could encode the steps for laying out a perfect circle, and ceremonial dances might physically enact the path of the sun across the sky, embedding astronomical data into the very muscle memory of the community. The most profound teaching tool, however, was the monument itself. A master builder could lead a student to a specific stone on the morning of a solstice and say, "Watch here." The student would see the truth of the alignment with their own eyes, a lesson in stone and light that was verified by the cosmos. This direct, experiential learning ensured that the knowledge was not just memorized but deeply understood and could be adapted as communities moved and built new sites. The widespread use of a standardized unit, like the proposed megalithic yard, points to a curriculum of sorts, a replicable system that could be taught across vast distances and generations. How did societies ensure this specialized knowledge was never lost, even through periods of hardship or migration? The answer lies in the integration of this knowledge into the core of cultural identity. It was not a secret held by a few, but a living tradition woven into stories, songs, and seasonal ceremonies that everyone participated in. This created a resilient, distributed network of memory where the entire community became the guardian of the blueprint. The continuity we see in architectural styles over thousands of years is a testament to the success of this intellectual foundation. It was a culture built not just on stone, but on the unwavering commitment to pass a cosmic understanding from one generation to the next. turning each new builder into a link in a chain of knowledge stretching back to the very dawn of time. The rhythmic pounding of grain and the careful observation of budding plants were forms of knowledge as vital as any star chart. Within the social fabric that built these monuments, women's contributions were almost certainly woven into every stage of the process. Their intimate understanding of seasonal cycles, born from generations of managing plant resources and tracking the subtle signs of weather, would have been indispensable for timing the agricultural calendar that these stone alignments so precisely mark. This was not a separate sphere of knowledge, but an integrated one, essential for the community's survival and prosperity. The placement of a stone to catch the first light of the spring equinox was a signal for planting, a decision that relied on a deep, accumulated wisdom about the land, a wisdom women were uniquely positioned to provide. Archaeological finds from megalithic burial sites support this view. In graves across Europe, female individuals have been discovered buried with distinctive artifacts often interpreted as symbols of authority, such as finely crafted mace heads or ornate ceremonial jewelry. These grave goods suggest that some women held prominent social standing, potentially as spiritual leaders, clan matriarchs, or ritual specialists who presided over the ceremonies held within the stone circles they helped create. Their influence likely extended to the very cosmology the monuments expressed. In many of these cultures, the most powerful deities were female, embodying the earth, fertility, and the regenerative cycles of nature. The great stone circles themselves, with their central spaces and life-giving alignments, can be seen as architectural representations of a sacred, feminine principle, a womb of the community where the heavens and earth met. This perspective fundamentally shifts our understanding of these sites. They were not the product of a single, anonymous labor force, but of a collaborative society where different forms of intelligence and leadership converged. The design of a temple doorway to frame the sunrise was a technical feat, but the decision of which sunrise to mark and what that moment meant for the community's well-being drew upon a vast reservoir of social and environmental knowledge that women helped curate and preserve. How did the unique perspectives of an entire community, not just half of it, shape the sacred geometry we still marvel at today? Acknowledging this collaborative spirit reveals a richer, more human story behind the stones, one where the drive to build for the future was a shared endeavor, drawing on the strengths of all its members. A line of standing stones cuts across a hillside, a silent but unmistakable declaration in an ancient landscape. These were not just celestial calendars, they were the original boundary markers, asserting a community's claim to the fertile valleys and vital water sources that sustain them. In a world without written deeds or fences, the sheer scale and permanence of a megalithic alignment sent a powerful message to any neighboring group: this land is ours. The placement was strategic. In regions like the British Isles, we find clusters of stone circles and rows positioned along river systems or near rich deposits of flint, correlating directly with the most desirable resources. This was a sophisticated form of land management, where the stones themselves became part of a broader territorial strategy, delineating not just physical space but social and spiritual domains. The visibility of these monuments was crucial. A single towering menhir placed on a ridge could be seen for miles, a constant reminder of whose authority shaped the horizon. This visual language of power naturally reinforced social hierarchies, with the ruling class or priestly elite using these grand projects to solidify their status and command the labor needed to reshape the very earth. How did different communities interact across these stone-drawn borders? They likely served as neutral ground for trade and ceremony, places where alliances could be forged under the watchful eyes of the ancestors and the gods. The precise planning behind these alignments ensured their meaning was unambiguous and respected across generations. A long stone row might point directly to a sacred mountain in the territory of an allied tribe, a permanent stone handshake signifying a shared understanding. This territorial dimension adds a crucial political layer to the megalithic puzzle. The same stones that track the moon also mark the limits of a chieftain's influence, proving that their construction logic was as much about navigating the complex geography of human relationships as it was about mapping the heavens. A dowsing rod twitches in a researcher's hands, tracing an invisible current that seems to flow directly through the heart of a stone circle. This experience, reported by many who visit these ancient places, points to one of the most intriguing and debated theories in megalithic studies: the idea that these sites were placed along powerful earth energies. Proponents of this view suggest that prehistoric builders possessed a profound sensitivity to the living landscape, choosing locations not just for their celestial views but for their unique geological properties. They argue that specific spots, such as areas above geological fault lines where underground water flows or magnetic fields subtly shift, were perceived as spiritually charged. In this worldview, a ley line was not merely a straight alignment on a map. It was a conduit of a vital force, and building a temple upon it was like plugging into the very lifeblood of the planet. The concept of these alignments, first popularized by Alfred Watkins in the 1920s, continues to captivate the imagination. He saw the British countryside crisscrossed by a network of straight tracks connecting ancient mounds, churches built on older sacred sites, and of course the standing stones. While mainstream archaeology often attributes these alignments to statistical chance or the practicalities of ancient travel routes, the persistence of the ley line theory speaks to a deep human desire to see a hidden order in the landscape. It suggests that our ancestors were not just master astronomers but also skilled geomancers, practicing an art that balanced the energies of the heavens with those of the earth. How could we ever test such an intangible idea? Modern science offers some fascinating starting points. Sophisticated magnetometers can now detect minute variations in the Earth's magnetic field around these monuments. Sensitive equipment can measure subtle electromagnetic fluctuations or even changes in background radiation. Some initial studies have indeed recorded anomalous readings at certain sites, though the results are often inconsistent and open to interpretation. The scientific challenge is immense, as these forces are faint and easily influenced by other environmental factors. Yet the very attempt to measure them bridges a vast conceptual gap, connecting ancient intuition with contemporary technology. It encourages an open-minded inquiry into the full scope of prehistoric knowledge. Perhaps the true genius of the megalithic builders lay in their holistic vision, where a place was sacred not for one reason, but for many, a convergence of celestial sightlines, terrestrial resources, and a perceived vitality that resonated with the human spirit. This speculative layer adds a profound dimension to the stones, reminding us that their silent presence may still hold mysteries that our instruments are only beginning to perceive. A single standing stone, stark and solitary against the sky, marks the beginning of this architectural journey. These early menhirs were the first sentences in a language of stone that would grow increasingly complex over thousands of years. As societies became more settled and their worldviews more intricate, their monuments evolved in tandem. The simple, powerful statement of a single pillar gradually gave way to the dolmen, a table-like structure of massive capstones resting on uprights, creating a sheltered space that suggests a new focus on housing the honored departed. This was more than a new building style. It was a fundamental shift in cultural priorities, moving from marking a place to constructing a permanent home for the community's ancestors. From there, the architectural ambition expanded yet again. The dolmen evolved into the passage grave, a sophisticated structure like Newgrange or Michaud, where a long, narrow corridor leads to a central chamber deep within an earthen mound. This was a profound innovation. The passage itself became a precise astronomical instrument, designed to channel a beam of light on a significant day, linking the world of the living with the realm of the ancestors through a direct celestial connection. The engineering challenges of corbelling stone to create a stable, waterproof chamber roof, all while maintaining perfect celestial alignments, show a mastery of both form and function that was unimaginable in the era of the single menhir. What cultural forces drove such a dramatic transformation? The arrival of new ideas through trade and migration played a significant role. The spread of the beaker culture across Europe, for instance, introduced distinctive pottery and new metalworking knowledge, but it also brought novel burial customs. These influences are visible in the alignment of stone cists, or small stone-built boxes, found within larger monuments, showing how communities integrated fresh beliefs into their existing sacred architecture. This evolution was not a linear path of improvement, but a dynamic process of adaptation. A society might build a simple stone circle for generations, then suddenly incorporate a massive, roofed chamber tomb at its center, reflecting a new social hierarchy or a more complex ceremonial life. The very shape of a monument tells a story about the people who built it. The emergence of the henge, a circular bank and ditch enclosure often surrounding stone or timber circles, points towards gatherings of larger populations. These were not just tombs, but theatrical spaces designed for communal ritual, capable of hosting hundreds of people for seasonal festivals that united entire regions. The stylistic changes directly impacted alignment precision. While a single menhir could mark a general direction, the long, dark passage of a grave required absolute accuracy to function as intended. A miscalculation of a single degree would mean the solstice sunbeam would miss its mark entirely, failing to illuminate the inner chamber. This demand for perfection drove advancements in surveying and geometry, pushing the builder's understanding of mathematics and astronomy to new heights. The stones themselves became more carefully shaped, their placements more calculated, all in service of capturing a perfect moment of cosmic alignment. This historical overview reveals that megalithic architecture was never static. It was a living tradition, constantly refined over millennia to meet the changing spiritual and social needs of the communities that cherished it. Each new form, from the humble single stone to the sprawling ceremonial complex, represents a chapter in humanity's long conversation with the cosmos, a dialogue written in the most enduring language we have ever known. A deep, resonant hum would have filled the air when a specific stone was struck, its vibration felt in the chest as much as heard by the ears. This was not random noise, but a carefully orchestrated part of the ritual experience. Modern acoustic studies reveal that many megalithic sites function as sophisticated sound chambers. At Stonehenge, the Great Sarsen Circle, with its hard, smooth surfaces and tightly packed layout, acts as a sound reflector. In experiments, a sound made within the circle is contained and focused, allowing a whisper spoken near one stone to be clearly heard directly across the circle, even with the wind blowing. This creates an intimate acoustic space within a vast, open landscape, a place where the voice of a ritual leader could carry with supernatural clarity to everyone present. The stones themselves seem to have been selected for their sonic properties. In Cornwall, the ringing rocks of the Merry Maiden Circle emit a metallic, bell-like tone when struck, a phenomenon the builders almost certainly knew and exploited. These auditory effects went beyond simple amplification. The echoes and reverberations within a stone circle could mimic thunder, the rushing of water, or the low rumble of the earth itself, blurring the line between human ceremony and the voice of nature. How could such precise acoustic knowledge emerge without any formal understanding of sound waves? The discovery was likely gradual and experiential, born from countless gatherings. A builder might notice how sound carried differently when a stone was moved to a new position, or how a specific rock produced a unique tone. This empirical knowledge was then encoded into the design, turning the entire site into a musical instrument of monumental scale. This integration of sound with celestial alignments points to a truly holistic vision. A ceremony held at dawn on the summer solstice would be a multi-sensory masterpiece, the rising sun flooding the circle with light just as the chanting reached a crescendo, the sound waves bouncing between stones aligned with the sun's first rays. The combination of rhythmic sound, flickering firelight, and powerful celestial events could induce profound altered states of consciousness, facilitating journeys to the spirit world or communication with ancestral forces. This auditory dimension forces us to listen to these ancient spaces with new ears, recognizing that their power was not just in what they showed the eyes, but in what they said to the soul. A geologist runs a hand over the weathered surface of a standing stone, feeling the story told by its crystalline structure. An astronomer sets up a digital theodolite, its laser pinpointing a notch on the horizon. Nearby, an archaeologist carefully brushes soil from a shard of pottery, a clue to the people who gathered here. This is the modern face of megalithic research, a collaborative effort where separate disciplines converge to solve a puzzle no single field can crack alone. The old model of the lone archaeologist with a trowel has given way to integrated teams, where a geologist's analysis of stone provenance, an astronomer's celestial simulation, and an archaeologist's understanding of cultural layers create a story far richer than anyone could tell. These specialists speak different technical languages, but they share a common goal: to listen to what the stones are whispering. A powerful tool enabling this collaboration is Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. This technology allows researchers to layer vast amounts of data onto a digital map of the landscape. They can overlay the positions of monuments with geological surveys, ancient watercourses, soil composition, and even modern satellite imagery. This reveals patterns invisible to the naked eye, showing how a string of stone circles might follow a particular rock stratum, or how sightlines between sites avoid areas of dense prehistoric forest. By integrating radiocarbon dating from charcoal fragments found in construction layers, they can anchor these spatial relationships in time, building a chronological map of how a sacred landscape evolved over centuries. What does a broken piece of pottery have to do with the stars? Everything. The humble artifacts uncovered by archaeologists provide the essential human context for the grand celestial alignments. Pollen analysis from soil samples can reconstruct the ancient environment, showing that a site now on a barren hilltop was once surrounded by open grassland, perfect for observing the horizon. The discovery of ceremonial artifacts, like a carved stone pendant or the remains of a communal feast, helps researchers understand the rituals that took place within the stone circle, breathing life back into the astronomical geometry. This interdisciplinary approach acts as a system of checks and balances. An astronomer might propose that a group of stones aligns with the star cluster known as the Pleiades. Using astroarchaeological software to roll back the sky to the date provided by the radiocarbon results, they can test the hypothesis with digital precision. Meanwhile, the archaeologist examines the site for any cultural evidence linking the people to that specific star group, perhaps in the form of symbolic carvings. When all these lines of evidence converge, a compelling picture emerges, one that is both scientifically rigorous and deeply human. Emerging technologies are pushing this synthesis even further. Ground-penetrating radar can map buried features without moving a single stone, revealing hidden pits or postholes that complete a geometric pattern. Drone-based LiDAR uses laser pulses to see through forest canopy, discovering entirely new monuments that have been hidden for millennia. These tools are not replacing traditional fieldwork, they are amplifying it, allowing researchers to ask bigger questions and test them against a wider body of evidence. This collaborative spirit is the future of understanding our past, proving that the true key to decoding the megaliths lies not in a single discipline, but in the shared space between them. The long shadows of a summer solstice sunrise reach through Stonehenge's great trilithons, tracing lines of light that have not changed for thousands of years. This iconic circle is a living textbook of megalithic engineering, its very stones recording a story of evolving ambition and precision. The site was not built in a single grand effort, but grew over centuries, with each new phase refining its celestial connections. Its primary axis is a masterstroke of alignment, pointing directly to the midsummer sunrise in one direction and the midwinter sunset in the opposite, tying the entire structure to the solar year's most dramatic turning points. This was more than a calendar. It was a symbolic bridge between the powers of light and darkness, life and renewal, framing the community's most vital rituals within the cosmic order. The journey of the stones themselves speaks to this layered logic. The smaller blue stones, transported an incredible 140 miles from the Preseli Hills in Wales, were likely the first to be erected. Their incorporation suggests a profound act of cultural fusion, perhaps bringing the sacred power of an older, distant ceremonial site to this new location. This was not a simple relocation of rocks, but a transfer of tradition, weaving an ancestral landscape into the heart of the new monument. Then came the massive sarsen stones, the familiar grey pillars that define the site today. Their arrangement reveals a leap in geometric sophistication. The outer sarsen circle and its internal horseshoe of trilithons were erected with an almost unbelievable precision, their carefully shaped lintels locked together with complex joints, creating a stable, continuous ring that mirrored the circle of the horizon. But the astronomical function may run even deeper than the sun. The circle of Aubrey holes, a ring of pits just inside the bank, may have been the key to a more mysterious and complex task, predicting lunar eclipses. By moving marker stones from one hole to the next in a specific sequence, generations of watchers could have tracked the moon's subtle 18-year cycle, forecasting the moments when it would be swallowed by the Earth's shadow. This transforms our understanding of Stonehenge from a solar observatory into a multi-functional cosmic engine, a machine built of stone and memory capable of reading multiple celestial clocks. What can this one site teach us about the broader evolution of megalithic engineering? It shows a clear progression from a simpler monument to a highly complex one, a journey from generalized alignment to pinpoint astronomical prediction. The builders learned from each phase, applying new geometric principles and integrating new knowledge, all while preserving the sacred significance of the original site. Stonehenge stands as a powerful case study in how practical engineering, deep astronomy, and profound spiritual belief were seamlessly woven together, proving that the true genius of these ancient builders lay in their ability to harmonize multiple layers of meaning into a single, enduring masterpiece. Deep within the grassy mound of Newgrange, the longest night of the year is broken by a single, piercing thread of light. For 17 breathtaking minutes, a precisely engineered opening above the entrance, known as the roof box, channels the rising solstice sun down a 60-foot passage to flood the central chamber in golden light. This was not a hopeful possibility. It was a guaranteed event, a feat of engineering that required the builders to possess a solar calendar accurate to within a single day. To achieve this, they had to calculate the exact azimuth of the winter solstice sunrise for their specific location, and then construct a monument that would capture it with unerring accuracy year after year for millennia. The architecture itself is a marvel of stability. The chamber is sealed by a corbelled roof where each layer of stone slightly overlaps the one below, rising to a central point that has remained waterproof and intact for over 5,000 years. This was a tomb designed for eternity, both in its physical endurance and its celestial connection. But what does this alignment truly signify? In the depths of winter, when the world seemed to be dying, this dramatic return of the sun into the deepest, most sacred space would have been a powerful metaphor for rebirth. It connected the final resting place of the community's ancestors directly to the cosmic cycle of renewal, assuring the living that life would always triumph over darkness. This symbolic fusion of astronomy and spirituality sets Newgrange apart, while other passage tombs like Micho in Scotland also capture the winter solstice sun. The precision and dramatic effect at Newgrange are unparalleled. The light does not simply flood the chamber, it travels as a narrow, focused beam, a deliberate and theatrical display that highlights the cultural specificity of the builder's vision. The intricate spirals and diamond shapes carved into the surrounding curbstones are not mere decoration. They are a permanent language, perhaps mapping the journey of the soul or the eternal cycles their architecture so perfectly captured. This was a society that saw no boundary between the heavens, the earth, and the realm of their ancestors, weaving them all into a single, coherent truth set in unshakable stone. The same sun that illuminated the chamber at Newgrange centuries later streamed through the great rose window of a medieval cathedral, casting colored light upon the altar at the summer solstice. This was not a direct inheritance of blueprints, but a profound echo of an ancient principle, the use of celestial alignment to create a moment of transcendent atmosphere. The master builders of these Gothic wonders, though separated by millennia from the megalith engineers, were guided by a similar logic, harnessing the sun's path to heighten spiritual experience. They did not know the names of those who raised Stonehenge, yet they built upon a landscape already imprinted with a sacred geometry. Across Europe, the evidence of this continuity is literally set in stone. In Brittany, the great alignments of Carnac were repurposed by later peoples, with early Christian crosses carved directly into the prehistoric menhirs, effectively baptizing the old sacred sites into a new faith. A Neolithic burial mound in Ireland might become the inauguration site for medieval kings, its ancient power lending authority to a new line of rulers. The stones themselves refused to be forgotten, becoming woven into local folklore as petrified giants, dancing maidens, or markers of legendary battles. Their original astronomical function transformed into myth, but their significance preserved. This repurposing reveals a deep, instinctual recognition of the power inherent in these places. The logical framework of aligning structures with the cosmos proved so effective that it transcended its original cultural context. We can trace a direct line from the patient sky watchers of the Neolithic to the astronomers of classical antiquity. The Greek historian Herodotus wrote of the Hyperboreans, a mythical northern people who worshipped the sun in a circular temple, a description that scholars have long speculated may be a distorted memory of Stonehenge itself. Indigenous cultures in the Americas, who developed their own precise solar observatories like those at Choco Canyon, demonstrate that this way of seeing the world was a universal human discovery, not a single invention. The enduring value of this knowledge lay in its adaptability. its core principle of cosmic harmony remaining constant even as its expressions changed with each new era and belief system. How do we uncover these threads of connection? The clues lie in the layered earth. An archaeologist excavating a site might find a Bronze Age stone circle, a Roman coin deposited as an offering centuries later, and the foundation of a Saxon church built alongside it, creating a timeline of continuous reverence. By comparing the orientation of a cathedral to the solstitial alignments of a nearby megalithic site, we can see a pattern emerge, a stubborn persistence of a sacred axis across thousands of years. This perspective collapses the distance between the deep past and more recent history, suggesting that the legacy of the first stone builders is not just in the monuments they left behind, but in a fundamental architectural intuition that has never truly left us. A volunteer's hand gently brushes away soil from the base of a standing stone, its silhouette framed against the steel and glass of a rising city skyline. This quiet act of documentation is a race against time, as urban expansion and shifting climate patterns place unprecedented pressure on these ancient sites. The very logic we have worked to understand, the precise alignments and environmental sensitivity of the builders, now provides the essential blueprint for their preservation. Recognizing that a stone circle's placement was a deliberate response to its local ecosystem informs how we manage the surrounding landscape today, creating buffer zones that protect both the monument and its celestial sightlines from modern encroachment. When restoration is necessary, this historical insight is invaluable. Conservators use the original astronomical principles to guide their work, ensuring that a realigned lintel will still capture the solstice sunrise just as its creators intended, preserving not just the stone but its function and meaning. This application of ancient knowledge transforms preservation from a simple act of maintenance into a form of cultural continuity. Yet the challenge is immense, balancing the public's right to experience these wonders with the fragility of the monuments themselves. How do we allow for meaningful access without loving these stones to death? The answer lies in innovative stewardship, using virtual reconstructions and controlled viewing platforms to share the experience while protecting the physical site. This engagement is crucial, for it is through a personal connection to these places that a broader appreciation for ancient knowledge flourishes. That same alignment logic, born from a deep observation of nature, now inspires contemporary architects and planners seeking sustainable, human-centered designs. The story of the megaliths does not end with the past. It continues in our present-day choices, in our commitment to protecting these testament to human ingenuity, and in our own efforts to build a future in harmony with the world around us. These silent stones stand as a universal testament to human ingenuity and our timeless drive to find meaning in the heavens. From the celestial calendars of Stonehenge to the symbolic rebirth at Newgrange, the construction logic of these sites reveals a sophisticated fusion of astronomy, engineering, and cultural belief. They were not built in isolation, but through a shared vision that connected entire communities to the cosmos. The enduring legacy of these monuments rests on key insights we are only now fully appreciating. The power of interdisciplinary research shows us that no single field holds all the answers, and the resilience of oral traditions proves that knowledge can be safeguarded for generations without a single written word. Above all, we see the profound symbolic power of stone, a medium chosen for its permanence to carry a message across millennia. This journey invites us to look anew at the ancient landscapes around us. Perhaps there is a standing stone in your own region, a local mound or circle whose story is waiting to be remembered. Supporting the preservation of these global treasures is a way to honor that shared human heritage. The past is not a distant country, but the very foundation upon which we build our future explorations. What mysteries in your own world might hold a hidden key to understanding? Share your thoughts on these enigmas and join us as we continue to unravel the greatest puzzles of our history.